Alright, welcome. This is Mrs. Steins, and we are going to be learning 1-3 properties of numbers. Today we're going to recognize the properties of equality and identity, and also to recognize the commutative and associative properties. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember to make sure you write down the objective. If you need to pause the video, please do so at this time so you can write the objective down. Alright, so here are the identity and equality properties. So let's take a look at these a little bit closer. The additive identity. That's for any number, whenever you add 0, it equals itself. So another example could be 2 plus 0 equals 2. It equals itself. And then we could have x plus 0 equals x. So anytime you add 0, it equals the same thing that you started with. All right, the additive inverse. So that's whenever you have a variable. Here they're showing us a plus negative a equals 0. So this is whenever the answer equals 0, where it cancels it out. So, for example, we could have 2 minus 2. That would equal 0. X minus x. Those are the additive inverse. The multiplicative identity is whenever you multiply by 1, it equals itself. So that would be like 2 times 1 equals 2. Or you could have x times 1 equals x. And then the next one, the multiplicative property of 0, is whenever you multiply by 0, it equals 0. So 2 times 0 equals 0. And then another one would be x times 0 equals 0. All right, the multiplicative inverse property is whenever you multiply a number by its reciprocal or by its inverse, it's going to equal 1. So let's say I have 2/3. If we multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3, remember that just means flip it, 3/2. And when we multiply those, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, which gives us 6/6, which equals 1. So anytime you multiply by the reciprocal, you should get 1. And that's the multiplicative inverse. Let's say I had x. The inverse, the multiplicative inverse of x is 1/x. And that would give you 1. The reflexive property is whenever you've got a number, it equals itself. So 2 equals 2, or we could have something like x equals x. Symmetric property. These are going to be the if-then statements. So if you have, if 2 equals x, then x equals 2. The transitive. This is if if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. So another example is if 2 equals x and x equals y, then 2 equals y. And then the substitution property, if A equals B, then A may be replaced by B in any expression. Okay, so if x equals 2, then (3x) equals 3 times 2. So I'm replacing the 2 where the x was. All right, those are our identity inequality properties. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next type of properties. Commutative and associative properties. Okay, with the commutative property, that's where the numbers move. So right here, if we have 2 plus 3, the numbers move, so that would be 3 plus 2. And it also works with multiplication. And then the associative property would be that the parentheses move. So if we had 2 plus 3 plus 4, notice these numbers need to stay in that order, 2 plus 3 plus 4, but now the parentheses will move. So instead of being in the around the first two numbers, it will be behind the last two numbers. And those are our different properties. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you need to pause it or rewind and get some extra stuff, please do so.